Today we're going to continue our studies and talk about types of variables. Now, let's begin first of all with the definition of a variable. Okay, we've learned about variables in all of our studies in mathematics early on from pre-algebra through algebra 1. In statistics though, a variable basically has two defining characteristics. First of all, a variable is an attribute that describes a person, a place, a thing, or an idea. The value of the variable can vary from one entity to another. For example, a person's hair color is a potential variable, which could have the value of blonde for one person and brunette for another. So variables in statistics often basically describe an attribute of a person, place, a thing, an idea, and the values can change from one individual to another. The example that we use, hair color, is a particular type of variable that we'll call categorical, and there are other variables in statistics that we'll deal with shortly, which are called numerical. So once again, variables in statistics are attributes that describe something about a person, a place, a thing, or an idea. Now let's talk about the definition of data. Okay, in statistics, data basically are observations on a single variable or simultaneously on two or more variables. So when we collect data, we're basically making observations about particular individuals within a population. And we collect large amounts of data to start to make decisions about populations. So once again, data are observations on a single variable or simultaneously on two or more variables. Now let's further break down variables into their different types. Let's begin by talking about categorical variables. Now, a categorical variable is sometimes called qualitative variables, and these are used interchangeably. So when somebody refers to categorical variables, they're also referring to variables that are qualitative. Qualitative or categorical variables take on values that are names or labels. For instance, the color of candy. If I'm talking about the color of candy, that's a categorical variable. It could take on many different colors, red, green, blue, etc. Or perhaps we're talking about the breed of a dog. Okay, maybe we're talking about a greyhound, a poodle, a dachshund. There's several different types of categories of dogs, but a categorical variable, once again, takes on values that are basically names or labels. Now, the other type of variable that we're going to talk about is numerical. So we have categorical variables or numerical variables. Now, numerical variables are also called quantitative variables, and so those again are used interchangeably. So when we talk about numerical variables, we're also talking about quantitative variables. Numerical variables are observations or measurements that take on numerical values. Examples: when we speak of the height of an individual, we're talking about a measurable attribute of the person. Therefore, height would be a numerical or quantitative variable. So any type of variable that has some type of a measurement that takes on numerical values that makes sense to maybe average those values, those are basically called numerical variables. Now, we further break down numerical or quantitative variables into two types. Quantitative variables or numerical variables can further be classified as discrete or continuous. Now, a discrete numerical variable takes on only a countable set of values between its minimum and maximum value. It is also called a discrete numerical variable. And although it's a countable set, it's potential that it could take on infinitely many values. However, it typically only takes on whole number or integer type values when we talk about discrete numerical variables. We also have continuous numerical variables. If a variable can take on any value or range of values between its minimum value and its maximum value, then it is called a continuous variable. So continuous variables take on any particular values within a certain range. Now we're going to go to some examples to kind of clarify between the two. But oftentimes when we're taking some type of a measurement like weight or height or things like that, we're talking about continuous numerical variables because they can take on infinitely many values within the domain of all possible values that we talk about.